coming in this evening, but there is a chance that we could see some sleet or what we call a little dry slot rolling on by towards about 6 or 7 o'clock. Tomorrow evening, you'll have a little lull in the action, and then you'll have some backlash snow showers and on and off snow going in to Monday. So the Groton, London area, I am expecting 8 to 12 inches at this point. There are computer models that are leaning towards the 12-inch to 13 inches even there. So good questions so far. Andrea, will there be mixing at the coast? And as I just mentioned, there is the chance for some sleet and snow to mix in. And again, that would happen tomorrow evening. Meanwhile, Gary, Central Connecticut, how much snow would you expect by 6 p.m.? Well, I would expect about 10, 12 inches of snow, especially in the central area of Connecticut, because, you know, it's going to be snowing at a rate of 1 to 2 inches per hour.
Something happened with the stream. We're not live yet. I think we just have to start over.
Okay.
And it should be.
Good Saturday evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sam Sampieri in the Fox 61 Weather Center, and thank you for tuning in to Fox 61 Plus, our streaming system here. And what we have going on is a major winter storm, a big snowstorm across a lot of the country. Winter storm warnings all the way from Arizona up here to the East Coast. We've been talking about it, seems like for days. It's been a few days. This storm means business, and it always does. Whenever you get a big storm cutting across the country, you know that we're in for a major storm here up in the East Coast. It's coming out of the Pacific, a lot of energy, a lot of Pacific energy, a lot of Pacific moisture, also hooking up with Gulf moisture. And at the same time, right here in the middle of winter, we have an Arctic air mass. Actually, today we only got into the lower teens, but it wasn't a record cold high. Today we got to 12. I think the record cold was 8 degrees. That's beside the point. But what that does set up is all this snow, all this heavy moisture coming at us. It is going to pour down snow at a rate of 1 to 2 inches an hour for a good 6 hours. So, you know, you can get a foot of snow and then things will lighten up. The question is, how much? We'll get to that in a minute. But again, I just want to show you all the information here and where the snow is. It's located along the Ohio Valley, and it's about ready to get into western parts of Pennsylvania and New York in a few hours, and then getting here into Connecticut. It does have to overcome some dry air. So thank you for tuning in, and I'm also going to be here for you. I'm going to take up questions from you as we're going to be interactive. I'm going to talk about some of your questions and have the best answers for you. And I'll be moving around to the different maps. And we have a great production crew, and they are going to keep me in line. So I am going to move over to the Weather Center, and I'm going to start answering your questions. Again, get ready for a big snowstorm here. The last time we had snow like this was back in 2017 statewide. Yes, we had a major winter storm back in 2022 where eastern Connecticut ended up with 1 to 2 feet of snow. So I'm going to start out with Isaiah in the Groton, New London area here. And what is the likelihood of losing power in the Groton, New London area? Very small likelihood. I never say never, but for the most part, this kind of storm, first of all, is going to be a fluffy snow. It's very cold. Temperatures are going to be in the teens and lower 20s in the Groton, New London area. It may rise into the middle 20s as we head towards tomorrow evening, but even then the snow is going to be very light and fluffy, and it's not going to cake on any of the power lines or cause any kinds of problems like that. Yes, you can have some scattered outages, maybe with some gusty winds and that kind of thing, but for the most part, this is not the kind of storm that's going to give you heavy wet snow, like, for example, the October 2011 Halloween snowstorm, or any late winter storms like in April or March, where you get that heavy wet snow that causes massive power outages. That's not the case. This is the kind of snow that's going to be blowing around for a day, even into Monday, although it will be snowing a little bit on Monday, but on Monday, it's just going to blow back on the streets. You know, that's how cold it's going to be. And a lot of times we get these big storms, seems like, and there's no cold air behind it, but not this time. This winter, by the way, is one of the coldest winters we have had in years. We went through a drought. And again, as I said, the last storm we had, and it was only eastern Connecticut, was back in 2022. Andrea, will there be mixing at the coast? Same answer. Yes, not mixing will occur sometime around 6 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock. And the question is, how much mixing? Well, to me, it's so cold, and this cold air mass is so deep that it'll be hard for warm air to overcome this. So what that means is that, yes, you might get some snow and sleet mixing, but what that will do is cut down accumulations. In other words, your visibilities would go up instead of a half-mile or quarter-mile visibility and heavy snow. It'll start to lighten up over a mile visibility, and you'll feel some light snow pellets, sometimes maybe what we call a little drizzle snow, a little snizzle. And it won't add up to much, but it won't turn into a big ice storm. Not at all. This is going to be mostly snow with a little mix of sleet at this point. Gary from Central Connecticut had asked the question, how much snow would we expect by 6 o'clock? And right now, I'm expecting about 8 to 12 inches across Central Connecticut, maybe a little bit more. There's some new information coming into the Weather Center, and some models are showing much more snow than what we're predicting. My concern about these storms is the backlash, and that, you know, it's not a classic nor'easter where you're having a storm come up the coast and give us 2 feet like the great blizzard of 2013 or the blizzard of 78 where it hangs around. I think what will happen is the heaviest snow will be from 10 o'clock in the morning till around 6 o'clock in the evening, and that's when southern Connecticut might get a little dry slot or change to a little sleet for a couple of hours. And even up in central northern Connecticut, it may slow down, and we'll have periods of light snow after that. So a lot of the snow will pile up during the day on Sunday. It won't be on Monday. And if my home loses power, what are the tips? Of course, we always want to make sure that you are packed up with enough food and water. Make sure you have blankets, and also, you know, you want to dress warmly, like as if you're outside. Keep the windows closed. The other thing, too, is it's always advice from plumbers is maybe you want to turn one of your sinks just a little dripping to keep the water moving so they don't freeze up if you have the type of house that has a basement with the pipes down underground where it's pretty cold, or underneath, as opposed to like a split ranch, something like that. Meanwhile, so I do think that the chances of losing power are less, but again, that's a good question. Mr. G from Cold Spring, what determines where the snow ice line is formed? Okay. Well, with that, it's all about the rain-snow line, and not only at the surface, but also in the middle and upper levels of the atmosphere. So we look at weather maps not only at the surface, but in the middle level, up a couple thousand feet, and then the highest level with the jet stream, up maybe 10,000 feet. So it's in the middle layer that where you can, where you can get that warmer air moving into the system. So what will happen is that it starts out as snow, it falls down into the atmosphere, and it gets about 2,000 feet from the surface. It hits a warm layer, it melts, but then it comes closer to the ground and it refreezes, and that's what causes the sleet. But what causes that? What is storm track? It's a storm track that basically goes close enough to us where it will bring enough warm air in from the ocean on an east-northeast flow. So let me just click through this weather show, because this is what you see on TV. Of course, we have our weather graphics, and they're really nice and fancy these days. The setup basically is high pressure, and you can see that high coming in to New England. Well, there's another high up to the north, and that is supplying the cold air. But the problem is, if this high moves offshore, and when it does so, I think, Tim, I'd like to go to the wall. Let's go to the wall. I want to kind of explain something a little bit better for you. I'll move on over to the big map here. And basically, what we have is a high pressure system, right? And with this high pressure system, it's clockwise flow, and it keeps the cold air entrenched. That's why temperatures, this is an Arctic high, by the way. You know, a lot of times we talk about, well, the storm it's just enough cold air for a storm to come up the coast just right here. But with this kind of storm, you have a system where it's going to cut across the country, get offshore. Now, if it comes close enough, it'll draw in that warmer air aloft and to change that snow to rain. So I'm going to click on here. And I'm going to show you how we look at the radar simulation too. So here it is at 6 in the morning, and just because we're showing some light snow here, doesn't mean it could be snowing. It'll take a little while. Keep in mind that the atmosphere, when it's this cold, it's very dry. So we have to saturate the atmosphere. It has to keep precipitating aloft until it saturates, the humidity gets up to 90%, so we saturate the column all the way to the ground. And here we go. We start to get some snow developing. And look at, by 9 o'clock, this is moderate, steady snow, but I want you to notice the temperatures here. And this is what I mean by fluffy snow. This snow can add up very quickly, and you don't need much what we call liquid equivalent. So if it rains, we get an inch of rain. That's a pretty good rainstorm. You get 2 inches of rain, and you get more than that, you get some flooding. Well, you get 2 feet of snow, or 20 inches of snow. That's a 1 to 10. Well, when you get temperatures down into the 20s, it's about 1 to 12. When you get down into teens, it's 1 to 15, 1 to 18, and this is 1 to 20 ratio. So if you get an inch of rain, you get 20 inches of snow. On the other hand, when you get the wet snow, it's the other way, where you get an inch of rain, you're only going to get 7 inches of heavy wet snow. So this is a very cold, cold storm here right now, and you got some snow cranking along at a pretty good clip. Here's the heavy snow with the darker blue shades coming up now at noon. So now you're getting into some moderate to heavy snow. Here it is at 4 o'clock. And those of you who asked about the sleet, here it is at 7 o'clock. So notice the temperatures. Yes, they have warmed a little bit. Here's it is, the Groton, New London area, to answer your question. There's that sleet right here. Now, if you were to believe this model, okay. Your snow has stopped, and we're just looking at some light snow, a little bit of light sleet. You got temperatures up here, though. This is all fluffy snow. Now, keep in mind, it's been snowing from 9 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock. That's 10 hours of snow. And there it is. So you get the sleet line, and then you start to see the snow breaking up just a little bit. And so I think by after 9, 10 o'clock, the heaviest starts to taper off. You still can get bands of snow showers or another batch of steady light snow as the storm begins to wrap up offshore. Boom. Goes to our east, and then I'm going to go back to the Weather Center, Tim, and we're going to ask some more questions here, answer some more questions, I should say, ask some more questions. And so I just wanted to give everyone kind of the timeline where the sleet may get in by 7 o'clock. This is Fran from Facebook. Can we take a look at the temperatures for tonight and tomorrow? We certainly can. Let me reset the show for you, and I'm going to keep on talking. while I'm not going to actually answer another question, Fran. Scott and Hamden, what is the snowfall rate per looking like? Will it be difficult for plows to keep up? When we get up to 1 to 2 inches an hour, the plows, it will be a little difficult, but as long as everybody stays off the roads, then of course it will be much easier for our state workers to and the plow operators to keep on going. So I think tomorrow being a weekend, this storm has been advertised really well. And so I think a lot of us will be staying home, of course. Well, not a lot of us will be here, but a lot of you will be home. And we will be, you will be enjoying a day. You really will be enjoying your Sunday watching that snow fly. So let me get to the current temperatures, since I've been so kind of busy looking at the latest model guidance with the snow coming in. You know, this is one thing that we've been talking about. Look at these temperatures here. 8 degrees Windsor Locks, 11 there in Hartford. I'll put up the wind, and we're going to see what it feels like. And I'm going to click that, and we're going to take a look at those wind speeds as soon as I put things in motion. Here, actually, these are the temperatures. This is another temperature map. And you can see how everywhere across Connecticut we have those temperatures in the single digits. Now, okay, so you got the temperatures. There's the wind speeds. They're averaging anywhere between 6 and 14, so 5 to 15 miles per hour. And it feels like it's 14 below in Torrington, 7 below in Windsor Locks, 2 below in the Groton, New London. So those are going to be the temperatures tonight and for tonight and tomorrow. Fran, those temperatures are going to be into the teens and 20s tomorrow. I can show you tomorrow's highs right here, because what I'm doing is just taking separate frames. I'm not making this a complete, you know, show for Fox 61 tonight. But actually, this is our forecast with heavy snow and temperatures. The high temperatures here with this northeast wind will be averaging in the teens inland to the lower and possibly middle 20s here across the Groton, New London area. And that's, you see this wind, the way it's coming in up these, it might bring in enough warm air, again, to change some of this to a little bit of sleet. Meanwhile, let's see what else, Scott and Hamden, what time of the worst of the storm? Again, it's going to be coming in tomorrow morning, 7 to 9. And we'll say, again, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock tomorrow is going to be really the heaviest snow. And northern Connecticut could snow heavily for a couple of more hours, where, again, southern areas might change over to sleet. This, you know, this storm is still, you know, 12 hours old, and a lot of times the models will update again. We're going to have new information tonight, news at 10 and 11, and I'll let you know whether we're going to trend upwards or downwards. Right now, I am being conservative, 12 to 18 inland, 8 to 12. Along the shoreline. So we are not expecting a blizzard, Scott. The blizzard, you would have to have winds over 35, gusting 35, 40 miles per hour for 3 consecutive hours. We're not going to have that kind of a blizzard. Will you have near whiteout conditions with visibilities down below a half mile, quarter mile, even to near zero? Yes, because you are going to have the wind, and the snow is going to be blowing around because it's so fluffy and light. But I wouldn't call it quite a blizzard. I would say maybe at times we would have near blizzard-like conditions, and that would be in the afternoon. The worst would be, you know, 12 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock. That, to me, would be the worst part for everybody across the state. And then we would have to see. And one of the things we're going to be doing tomorrow is following that rain-snow line when it actually happens, right? So we go through this all the time with the computer models and everything like that. And what happens is sometimes good old Mother Nature does do a trick on us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a simulation as if I'm running the show on Fox 61 the news at 10. So Tim, let's go back to the wall here. I'm going to go back to the green screen. And I just want to see, I got some other questions here. Maybe I can answer these. Yeah, let me do that. And let's see, do I have those? Okay, I got some more questions here. Okay. So Maggie in Coventry, any idea if Bradley will close? Well, my advice on that is to call the airport. I have a feeling they may shut down for a while to allow the cleaning crew to keep up. But that is something that you would need to call Bradley International to find out the latest on that. They tend not to close unless it gets real bad, and there will be a few hours, again, as I said, where there might be a problem. What are the differences in the models? Well, this opens up a can of worms because I can go on and on. I don't want to get too geeky with everybody because it's very technical. This is why we go to college. We take advanced math, chemistry, and physics. And so we learn the math and physics in school, and we thank computers because they do all the math for us, and it spits out the output, which is the forecast. And so one computer model that we always talk about is the European, okay? Well, the European is good, but over the last 5 or 6 years, we have the GFS model, the American model. And really, the models now are getting so advanced with computer speed. It's all about the gridding. So in other words, sometimes you have what we call mesoscale models, refinement of the models, where you get down to hour by hour met conditions, and it simulates that out to 48 hours. Those close-in models now, we're looking at the latest data, and they tend to be more accurate than the European or the GFS after we get within 24 to 48 hours of the storm. We tend to take a look at what we call the NAM, the North American model. We also take a look at some new high-resolution models, and with some new advanced gridding systems they have. The National Weather Service now is working in partnership with the community, with research, with colleges, with industry. You have open source. It's called the Unified Forecast System, and they're going to be advancing these computer models to try to pinpoint even more accurately. But despite all that, the GFS and the European have a bigger grid, and they're better medium range models. So that now what we can see in this decade, we can tell that a big storm is about 5 to 6 days off, and then we nail down the details like we're starting to do now with our short-term mesoscale models that I have just mentioned. But the European and the GFS are very similar now. The GFS has made some major advancements, I should say. National Weather Service advanced team, research team has done a real good job of updating and upgrading the models along with the technology over the last let's see, I went to school in the 80s, so over the last 40 years, it's incredible now to see these kind of storms well in advance, where before we'd have to wait till 2 days. We would have a model that might show 5 days in advance, some kind of a storm, but it would be always off by hundreds of miles. Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, we were going to have a major winter storm, get up. My father got me up, it's raining, you know? So that's how much of a difference these computer models have gotten so much better. Meanwhile, as I'm looking at some more questions here, yeah, Andrea, will they be mixing at the coastline? So again, as I said, that'll be possible. So temperatures today got into the teens. I'm going to go through a little bit of a TV simulation. And currently, again, I'm showing you the current temperatures. And 4 degrees in Salisbury. And these numbers are what it still feels like. So these temperatures, this is hard cold. This is really bitter cold. And again, this is the winter storm warnings now. And they are all now in line. Nothing has changed, and that's how big this storm is. It's all, and here it is. I mean, this is incredible to see this. It's been a while, as I said. It's going to be moving in. There's that high pressure system, and it's all about this high. This high, if it holds on, it'll keep the coastline mostly snow. But let's time it out. Check it out. 6 o'clock, then you got the snow, heavy at times, throughout the afternoon. I'll even step further out of the way so you can see how this works. And then we say, okay, is it going to really sleet here? Well, it might. It might not. It might go further south, or it might go in a little bit further. My gut feeling is we might get a little mixing here, but it's not going to turn that much warmer. Here's your warmth right here, 28, 29 degrees. And then the storm begins to wrap up and go out, and it'll bring in that northwest to southeast flow, and then look at that. And here we are, 4 a.m. So kids, are you going to have school Monday? I doubt it, because the plows, yeah, they're still going to deal with on and off snow. And the other thing, keep in mind, and we don't say this, we haven't been saying it lately, blowing and drifting of the snow. If we get 15, 16 inches of snow, and that wind picks up on the back side of the low, and a lot of times you get wind gusts out of the northwest that are even higher, will blow the snow right back on the road. So I do not expect school to be open after this major snowstorm. Here it is, still might be snowing a little bit throughout the afternoon. Look at 3 o'clock, still snowing a little bit. So during the day, it's a good day where you kind of bundle up and take it easy out there, dress in layers. And so let's talk about the computer models. Yeah, I can't wait for more response on this one. This model here is showing 24 inches in Windsor Locks. This is our North American model. I think it's too high. On the other hand, why is it showing that? Because of the temperatures. If you have temperatures in the single digits and teens, all you need is an inch of liquid, and you're going to get 20 inches of snow, as I mentioned before. So this is one computer model. Let's check out another one. This is the European model, okay? Now, I didn't stop the clock because this will go out 7 days. It looks like it's not doing anything. Look at the European model here, right? It's also showing quite a bit of snow, and this is the newer data coming in, all right? How about the GFS American model? How do you like that one? So we're getting a foot of snow in Groton, New London. So 16 inches, and then again over 20 inches. So we have a couple of models. This is the North American model. The other model I showed you was, I think, the GFS model. This model is our Monday at 1 a.m. now. Let's take a look at this. This is also now increased a little bit again from earlier today. Down along the shoreline, and let's keep going here and see what happens on Monday. So we're starting to see, when you look at all this, everyone, and you don't need to be a meteorologist. If you took all the models and averaged them out, we're talking about a good 18, 19, maybe 19 inches of snow here, and a little bit lesser right along the shore. The idea is all snow, maybe a little mixing or a dry slot to cut it out. So we're going 12 to 18 inches right now, with 8 to 12 along the shore. I'm leaning on the higher numbers on both areas. The only reason why I'm thinking we could get only 8 or 9 is the dry slot coming in faster than the models show. So these are the things that we have to look at: temperature. We have to look at the direction of which way the storm is coming, how it's developing. And when everything comes together, we always talk about this, it's the sweet spot. Where does it track? Why is it so hard and difficult in Connecticut? Well, it's because we're right here, Long Island Sound, the Atlantic Ocean, and the ocean has a lot more powerful influence than we all think, because we always think about the atmosphere, but the ocean remember, covers 75% of the earth. Land is only 25% approximately. So the ocean has a big influence on the weather pattern, the jet stream flow, the kind of summers, the kind of winters. Let me go back and get some questions off here. Tim, I'll stand by the wall here and answer some more questions. So I had another question. The storm was originally tracked to the south. What has changed? What has changed is this. I'm going to back up on this. Let's see if this storm will, this will work for me. Actually, everyone, I'm kind of impressed with the last couple of runs of those computer models. See this ridge of high pressure? The high originally was going to be further south suppressing this, and the two jet streams from the polar jet and the subtropical jet weren't going to merge, but now they're all merging. That's why you see all this. If they weren't merging, what would happen here? You would have an area of snow and sleet, but going this way, and you'd have the other flow pushing this south. But instead, that ridge of high pressure is going to push east, turn the wind around, and allow, in other words, this high is going to retreat a little bit further north and east and allow the storm to follow this black line and then offshore. This black line is this little trough of low pressure. That trough is in a weak little system in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. What's the overnight temperature in northern Connecticut? Can you explain how wind sometimes makes things colder, sometimes not? Well, the overnight temperature in northern Connecticut, pretty much with the clouding up, it's going to be 0 to 10 above. You know, I don't expect temperatures to go well below 0 tonight because we're going to have the clouds, and we're at the core of the cold air. This is the core of it right here. And once it pulls away, we're going to have moderate ever so slightly, as you could see with the simulation with the forecast. So again, here's the temperatures. Put it into motion, and you see all day long we're staying. So here you are. And so that's why the models are starting to show 15 to 20 inches up here in northern Connecticut. Now, even here, so remember, it's 1 o'clock, but watch what happens. This is where you start getting that storm having a little bit of an ocean influence, because as the storm gets closer, even though it's 2 hours south and we have enough cold air in place, you still can get that east-northeast wind and blow that in. So the wind chill, there's an equation. You take the temperature and you take the wind speed, you do a little calculation. And for example, if it's 10 miles per hour, your wind chill will be a couple of degrees cooler. But once you start getting 20, 30 miles per hour wind gusts, that's when you can subtract a good 5 to 10 to 15 degrees off the thermometer. So it's based on an equation. And by the way, I think about 20 years ago they updated it. It used to be much too cold. I remember growing up in the 60s and 70s, wind chills down 30 to 50 below. It's not like that. They revised the equation, take in some other things. I don't think going into an equation here, that wouldn't be cool, guys. We don't need to be geeky. Everybody wants to know about the snow, and I'll be more than happy to keep answering these questions right now as I keep thinking about how this storm is really going to come together. Let's see. Thank you, Jack, for that. And Scott and Hamden, when do you think roads start clearing up again? Monday. Basically Monday, as I said before, because the snow's going to be blowing around, even though it's not going to be snowing very hard on Monday. So everybody stays off the roads on Monday. So I think Tuesday we'll get back to normal. Although, I'll tell you, after this storm, bitter cold is going to be sticking around at this point. So certainly, I think that we're going to have 2 snow days tomorrow. And the kids, you're going to have off, right? So again, I am going to just go back here a little bit, and I'm going to go and talk about this a little bit more. And here again, just to let everybody know, winter storm warning in effect until Monday. And here it is, and it'll be here coming up pretty shortly. Get ready. And let's see, I'm going to go back over to the Weather Center, Tim, and take some more, a couple more questions here. Chris in Naugatuck, did you say 12 to 18 is conservative? Yes, I did. So let me show you why here. I'm going to skip that. take a look at these computer models. This is the latest data here. There's nothing, you're seeing some new information that I only saw probably an hour ago. This is all new to me because I was thinking, oh, it won't get that high. But all of a sudden, the models want to do this. Why? Because that cold air is really, really very strong. I stop the clock there. And here's another one, too, doing the same thing. But you see the pattern? You see how there's less snow on the shore? So all the computer models are telling us that we're going to be all snow inland and just a little bit of a mix. So I'm saying 12 to 18 because sometimes these computer models tend to overdo certain parameters. And, you know, we'll have to see because the storm is going to move along. But at the same time, it seems like, you know, you could pick up 2 inches an hour. So do the math. All you need is 8 to 10 hours, and you're up between 16 and 20 inches. So that's why 12 to 18 is conservative at this point, and we can adjust it up or down. And I may be adjusting this either way coming up tonight at the news at 10. Could melting refreezing cause black ice issues? Of course. Right along the immediate shoreline where you might get a little bit up to 28 or 30, but it's going to be mostly solid cold. And so what will cause the refreezing is when you do the salting and sanding, which will come, you know, the next day, you know, and the treatment of the roads. It'll be good during the day, and then at night with temperatures going down at and below near zero, you'll have black ice every single morning, always to be careful, of course. So that's a good, very good question. And so, yeah, I already answered that one. And expecting blizzard conditions, yeah. Any more questions? Got one more? They keep coming? Great. Okay, yeah, we could do that. You know, everyone, we are going to take a break right now. And you could keep texting your questions in, and we will answer, and I'll answer more. And you'll get some of those answers as I do the meteorology and the weather at tonight's news at 10 and 11. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions on air live. And I'll have the latest information on all of a sudden why we're starting to see more 18, 20-inch snowfall totals on these computer models. But right now we're expecting 12 to 18. A lot of you may get 15, 16 inches, and right along the shore, maybe a little bit less because of that mixing line, trying to sneak into the 95 corridor. And meanwhile, of course, everybody be safe. Stay home, enjoy the football games tomorrow. Relaxed, at least I hope everybody is prepared. You won't have any time tomorrow morning because once that snow starts, it's going to come down hard. And it's just going to keep going until Monday, as has been showing you through in the last few minutes. So be safe, and I'll see you tonight at 10 and 11. Thank you very much.